consent, special situation, some points has been already touched upon by Professor Hajar sir. And when we need to take electronic consent, every recording where we can go through it. Now coming to the informed consent elements, there are three elements like threshold elements, informational elements and consent elements. First, we need to ensure that there is enough competence who is doing the research, who is the principal investigator and his team, and we must ensure that the consent is provided by the research participant voluntarily. And we must disclose what are the information that we have to disclose to the patient to the study participants, like for how long they will be included in the study, how many times they have to come to visit the hospital, and what procedure will be done upon them, what kind of data will be collected, and they must understand this totally. And we must ensure that they understand the process completely and then take the informed decision, so that in a way we are authorizing them to take their own decision through this process. So it is a cornerstone of ethics in clinical research, because many atrocities and tortures has been done in the name of clinical research in the past, both on either side of the Atlantic, as mentioned by Professor Hajar, and people were recruited in the study against their will and they were tortured. To protect their right, safety and well-being, informed consent process has been introduced, and it is a process where clinical research participants must receive and comprehend information appropriately to make an autonomous decision whether they will take part in the study or not take part in the study. And researcher must obtain voluntary written informed consent from the prospective participants for any kind of biomedical or health related research involving human being. Why it is referred to as a process? Because it is a continuous process and it has three components. First, we need to ensure there is enough competence of the researcher, whether he is adequately trained to do a research on a human being. Relevant information must be conveyed to the potential participants. Number of participants we are contacting may not all be recruited in the study, because all may not give consent to the study, and they must take part in the study voluntarily. And it is a continuous process, and each and every time we are getting in contact with the potential study participants, we must convey some kind of information related to the study, so that they are more informed and can comprehend the process fully. Here in this picture, you can see that the researcher is conveying the information to the potential study participants, and they are trying to understand what actually is being said to them, and then they are giving consent voluntarily. And we must not take consent like this. We cannot take consent from the study participant forcefully, and the force can be of any type. It can be physical force, or we cannot say the patient that if you don't take part in the study, you will not receive the standard care which you were supposed to get in the hospital. Or we should not provide them a huge amount of money. That is a kind of coercion as well. Suppose a person who is taking part in the study is a daily wage laborer, and his daily wage is 500 rupees. We can offer her daily wage and a meal maybe, and cost for coming to the study site. That might be rupees 2,000 for a day. But if we offer 50,000 rupees, then that person will ignore the risk of the study and will be compelled to take part in the study. It is a kind of coercion as well, and we must avoid these kind of things. So what are the parts? There are two parts. One is patient information sheet, where the information, why the study is being done, and what are the relevant part of the study related to the study participant is conveyed in a simple way, maybe in a page. And then comes the informed consent form. In this form, how the study is being done, actually what will be done to the patient or the study participant. The method is mentioned here, and we need to provide complete and accurate information in compliance with regulation and guideline in simple language. You already know that we have to obtain our permission to conduct a study in a site from institutional ethics committee, and institutional ethics committee has to be registered, and in a way we are actually following the rules and regulation of the country. And researcher must use ethics committee approved version of the consent form, including its local translation. Sometimes it might happen like that you have submitted one informed consent form to the ethics committee, but it is laborious to explain all the things to the patient or the study participant. That is why you are making some changes in the informed consent form and trying to obtain informed consent from the patient, but it is not ethically acceptable because we need to only use the ethics committee approved version of the informed consent form. And another important thing is that we have to convey the information or relevant information to the study participant in local language so that he or she understands the process totally. Suppose in a situation you have taken a job in a state of Tamil Nadu, you don't know Tamil, and you know only English, Hindi maybe, and your mother tongue is Bengali. Now you have to recruit the patient from that part of the country who knows maybe only Tamil. Then what should we do? We usually go through Google Translation or something like that. Here's what happens. Your language that is written, your topic that is written in English is translated by a software in other language. You need to ensure that you have translated back in English again. If the translated back topic is matching the original topic, only then you can use that translated version in your informed consent form, because you have already experienced that whenever we try to translate anything from local language, from English to any local language, some changes occur, and sometimes those are not appropriate. That is why we need to recheck the thing by reverse translating, and if the reverse translation is appropriate, then we can use that translated topic in our informed consent form. So what are the documents, what are the information we need to give? Benefits to the patient. We need to tell the patient what are the benefits of participating in the study. That benefit might be directly related to him or to his community as an expected outcome of the research. We must not hide any risk, any potential risk that he or she might face while participating in the study. We must tell that he is taking part in the study freely and he is free to move out from the study without any penalty or loss of benefit which he or she is otherwise entitled. And we also have to mention that free treatment and compensation will be provided to the study participants for any research related injury or harm. And for that purpose, the principal researcher has to ensure that he has done some kind of insurance to protect the study participants. Confidentiality is very important part. We cannot divulge any sensitive information, including the identity of the study participants. And that is why when we are publishing any study after the research is completed, we need to de-identify that those informations. Like suppose many times it has happened like that you are uploading a X-ray or CT scan picture as part of your article. In that article, in that picture, the name of the patient might be written. You have to obscure that part so that the patient cannot be identified from the information provided in the article. Identity of the principal investigator, co-investigator, chairperson, member secretary of the institutional ethics committee, all has to be written, and helpline number against for appeal against violation of ethical principle and human rights. All these are to be written, and this information can be obtained from your own institutional ethics committee. What other information we need to provide? We need to provide information related to study duration. How many times the study participants have to come to the site for giving data? What kind of data will be collected, whether it will be demographic data or anthropometric data, or the blood sample will be taken, saliva sample will be taken. We need to mention the method, how the data will be collected and how the data will be stored and analyzed. Sometimes we need to, it's not sometimes, we must give them enough time to understand the procedure. They might take time to discuss the procedure with their family members and come back at a later date and give the consent voluntarily. And when they are they are actually enrolling themselves to the study, they must sign or at least give thumb impression to the document. If the are specially able, we can take special technology help so that they can understand in a easier way how the procedures are done, maybe braille for visually impaired persons. When the person is not in a condition to give consent, I will come detail to that. In that case, legally acceptable representative can give consent for that particular person. If the participant or the participant and the legally acceptable representative both are illiterate, then an impartial literate person has to be present when the informed consent form is being signed or thumb impression is being taken from those study participants. And it is mandatory for the researcher to take consent before initiating any study involving human subjects. Again, another repetition is that we need to maintain privacy and confidentiality of the participants at all the stages. Signature of the study participant as well as investigator must be there along with date. As Professor Hazra sir said, if we have to take source document data, if we have to preserve the source document data, we need to obtain consent from the institutional head as well, because we are taking the data from the hospital. In case of genetic research, other member of a family, if involved as secondary participant, consent is required. Suppose you are dealing with cystic fibrosis patients, you are trying to go through a drug development process that may be useful in treating cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is genetic disease, so you are taking genetic samples of the patient. Now you are thinking that whether the family members of these patients are also suffering from the cystic fibrosis or not. To know that you are trying to take sample of the family members as well. Even in that case, also you have to take consent. Original patient information sheet and informed consent form has to be archived for 5 years, and if and we need to share the copy of patient information sheet and informed consent form with the study participant as well. If they are not willing to take it back with them, take the copy with them, we must note down their reluctance as well. Now we need to address therapeutic misconception and misestimation. What is misconception? It is a belief that is held by research subject that purpose of the research is to provide therapeutic benefit. It may not always be so. Suppose a research participant has been enrolled in a maybe in the standard treatment group or in the placebo group. In placebo group, there is no therapeutic benefit from the material he or she is obtaining. We need to disclose that fact that there might not be any therapeutic benefit as well. Therapeutic misconception is that subject is overestimating the benefit or underestimating the potential risk. Suppose in a terminally ill cancer patient, a new drug is being tested upon, and he is estimating that a new drug will cure him from the cancer maybe in next month, by the next month. He is actually overestimating. He is actually overestimating the potential benefit of the new drug. We must ensure that it might not happen. Even after knowing these things, if the study participants want to take part in the study, only then we can recruit them. Verbal consent is usually avoided. It is taken in only special circumstances. Suppose the person who is not able to suppose an army veteran who has lost both upper limbs, he cannot sign or give thumb impression. We have to take verbal consent from that person if we want to recruit him in our study, and this kind of consent is taken in presence of impartial third person who is actually observing all the procedure, and the process can be recorded. When re-consent is needed, when there is a new information about the study that we are doing is available, we must convey that information to the patient. You know, in Tuskegee syphilis study in United States, what happened? The syphilis patients were recruited in the study, and the authority was trying to see what is the course of the disease. So the end result will be death. In the meantime, drugs that treats syphilis were discovered, but those messages was not conveyed. Those messages were not conveyed to the patient, to the study participants, and they were kept like that, ultimately leading to untimely death of many patients. So we need to take re-consent whenever there is any new information about our study. If there is any change in risk-benefit ratio, if we are trying to change any treatment modality or procedure or site visit, suppose you have initially planned you will take 3 samples from a particular subject. Now you are trying to say that you need to take 5 samples from the subject. You need to take re-consent from the patient. If there is any change in data collection method or study duration, initially you recruited the patient for 1 year maybe. Now you want to prolong the study for maybe 5 years. You have to take re-consent from the patient. If any unconscious patient who were recruited in the study gains back consciousness, we have to take consent from that patient after he or she gains back consciousness. When a child becomes adult, we need to take consent. And if there is any long-term follow-up or extension of follow-up, if we need to publish any photograph of the patient in journal, even if after camouflage adequately, we need to take permission from the study participant, and sometimes we need to take permission from the partner or spouse as well. When we can have waiver of ethics committee approval, when the risk is minimal and not adversely affect the right and welfare of the participant, we can have waiver of ethics committee permission to conduct our study. And ethics committee waiver can be applied in the following situations, like retrospective study, where the source data cannot be retrieved anymore after de-identification. What is de-identification? When we collect the data, the name of the patient is written. But when we do the statistical analysis, maybe by a third party, we usually de-identify the name of the patient is not written anymore. We give a code for that particular patient. And after few years, if we want to do retrospective study using those data, what will happen? We won't be able to get back to those patients because we have lost them. If we are doing any research on data available on public domain, we can claim for waiver. and studies done during emergencies and disaster, we can ask for waiver. Sometimes we need to take consent from the group leader or religious leaders maybe, so that we can penetrate or recruit patients from particular community. Because in these cases, it has been seen that the study participants are hesitant to take part in the study until and unless they are being instructed by their group leaders or religious leaders. Special situations where the person is vulnerable or not in a position to give consent by themselves or cannot comprehend the procedure totally by themselves. In those cases, we need to take special care. Individuals with relatively or absolutely incapable of protecting their own interest, like in case of children or those who are mentally not stable, maybe insane, socially, economically, politically disadvantageous patients, maybe refugees. If we are going to do study on them, we need to take special permission. If the study participant is not able to give consent and have diminished autonomy due to dependency, maybe a paralyzed patient, he want to give consent to the study, but he is dependent on others for his or her day-to-day self-care. In that case, we need to take special care and permission from the persons who are taking care of that person, because he is not able to take self-care at that moment. Children under 18 years of age, they cannot give consent, but you can easily understand that adolescents can understand things very well, but they are legally not allowed to give consent. What they can give, we have to take assent from them. In this case, consent is taken from the parents or the legally acceptable representative. Other examples of vulnerable groups: tribal population, marginalized communities, migrants, population in conflict zones, riot or disasters areas, mentally and physically disabled persons, uh, LGBT community, etc. As I say, assent is taken from those aged between 7 and 18. If they cross the age of 18, we have to take re-consent from them. Now, coming to electronic content, why we have to take electronic consent? It is very clear to us after the pandemic, because the researcher could not get near to the study participants as it was highly contagious disease. In that case, consent was taken using electronic devices. Patient information sheet and informed consent form was filled up using tabs maybe, and all the relevant information was also conveyed through electronic method. Sometimes audio and video recording has to be done for informed consent process. As per order of DCGI dated 31st July 2015, every recording of informed consent process is mandatory for regulatory clinical trials approved by DCGI under the following categories. I am just reading out this slide because this is legally important. If we are involving vulnerable subjects in clinical trial of new chemical entity, নতুন কোনো ওষুধ শুরু করব vulnerable গ্রুপের উপর করতে গেলে আমাদের informed consent নিতে হবে. Clinical trial of anti-HIV, anti-leprosy drugs, every recording of assent whenever applicable. Assent we are taking from children who are aged between 7 and 18. Participants who are unable to give consent, and we are taking consent from the legally acceptable representative. And in the video, both the study participant, legally acceptable representative, and the investigator all should be visible, and that video cannot be doctored further. That cannot be doctored later to maintain its authenticity. And the video is recorded in a place free from disturbance, well illuminated, and privacy and comfort of the study participant is ensured while recording the video. National guidelines for ethics committee reviewing biomedical and health research during COVID-19 pandemic led to this boom of audiovisual recording while taking informed consent, and the procedures, uh, as I said in previous slide, has to be maintained while taking consent from the study participants. Now, coming to the conclusion, when the consent process, as I said at the beginning of my talk, that it is a process that involves conveyance of the information, then the information is comprehended by the study participants, and he or she then takes part in the study voluntarily. And when the process is finished, it is finished when the final report is submitted. Thank you. If there is any question, you can ask me. You are doing meta-analysis on data that those are available in public domain. In that case, you can ask for waiver of consent, but you have to be informed that you are doing a study.
So that we should require paper from the legal committee.
Yes, you should inform the ethics committee that you are going to do a meta-analysis. And ethics committee take over.
But CBI CBSE को permission আসে
না
only ethical committee junior person
yes
পুরো junior faculty PI করতে পারে
adequately trained person যার মধ্যে একজন senior trained
আছে কপি করে বলছি
injury and the compensation. So how much will be the compensation? Demand
there is specific formula as per guideline of ICMR. It is there, and we have to compensate the patient according to that formula only.
institutional who will compensate? Company